Okay. Good morning. It's Monday morning. It's time to wake the hell up, and it's Monday, so we're talking about memes, the meme war, and the war on memes. Today we've got this got this lovely picture of Wonder Woman, and of course, like any feminist should demand, it's an upskirt shot. Nice job, ladies.
Yeah. Oh yeah. With the strangely phallic positioning of the sword. I'm sure that's all coincidental.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about this meme for a minute. Um, Hopefully about 10 minutes. Baha. So what do we have? We have an iconic American character. Now, Princess Diana from the canon is not actually American because she comes from that island. I don't remember the name of the island.
Themyscira.
Themyscira. Okay. Um, so she comes from the island where there are no men, and we're not at all sure how that works, other than perhaps raiding rape parties of ravenously libidinous Amazons, which that's a whole different movie, right? Now this meme says ANTIFA means anti-fascist, proudly fighting fascism since 1941. Okay, there has been no fascism in the legitimate Western world since 1950. I mean, there's an argument that there were some holdovers after the end of World War II. Um, but this obnoxious, absurd, fallacious claim that fascism is somehow everything that's the opposite of socialism. Let's just start with that real quick. These guys, these Antifa guys, they claim to be socialists. They're not. Uh, they really aren't. But that's a whole nother thing. That's we can dig into that a little more later. But they claim to be socialists, and they're they've been taken in by this bizarre notion that somehow fascism and Nazism are the same thing, and that socialism, which the Nazis were socialists, and fascism are also diametrically opposite. This bizarre notion that far left and far right are both intensely authoritarian. That's just not the case. Okay. Now, I don't want to go too deep into the deep problems of the pure left right diatomic split of political ideology. It doesn't exist. There is no such thing. Um, but it is the fallacious framework under which nut jobs like these anti-fascists uh, operate. So the claim that's being made, and you know, we could draw a lot of this out from the composition of this image, this meme, but it's it's also plainly apparent in the comments that are made by the supporters of Antifa, along with a meme like this, and they tend to go something along the lines of Antifa is against fascism. If you are not in Antifa, then you are supporting fascism. And that's the gentlest it's generally phrased. Usually these extremists, these terrorists, make the claim that if you are not participating in Antifa, then you are a fascist. So not you're a member of Hitler Youth who's there because you're a 7-year-old Ratsburger and your option is to wear a brown shirt or die in the street. No, no, not the You're just a weak person who has submitted to the current order rather than be executed uh, for dissent. No, no. You are a fascist. You are someone who is actively engaged in the work of exterminating a minority, which, again, not actually part of fascism. So the Nazis were not fascists. Okay, I'm going to say that again because it might be hard for some people to process. Nazis are not fascists. Nazis are. It's not even correct to call them white supremacists because that would suggest that they were interested in a much broader spectrum of genetic diversity than the Nazis were. I mean, let's not forget the Nazis were attempting to cultivate this Ubermensch concept of very pure white skin, blonde hair, blue eyes, and even a certain level of fitness and athleticism. Uh, you could have all of the visible identifying traits of the Aryan race and be feeble, be weak, be fat, be disabled, uh, be gay. Any of those things would be reason enough for you to be executed under the eventual development of the Nazi regime. Uh, the Nazis were they're called the Third Reich, the Third Way. It was supposed to be a sort of blending of uh, what they believed to be the best parts of the left and right. So the actual best parts of the right are an understanding of the usefulness of hierarchy and tradition, sort of. And the actual best parts of the left are an understanding not that not that the establishment needs to be challenged constantly, but that there are circumstances under which the establishment needs to be challenged in order that traditions adapt to the changing of the times, to the changing of technology, to the changing of things like longer lifespans, better health, higher resource availability, the dramatic drop in poverty that has been generated exclusively by capitalism, despite the constant hindrance of that progress by socialism. Okay, so this is a very clear no true Scots fallacy. The the comments are things like I said, if you're not an active member of Antifa, then that means you are a fascist. I'm not Italian at all in any way. So there's that. Uh, but the other claim that's made is that because Antifa has been labeled a terrorist organization by the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Defense, that if you label the anti-fascist as a terrorist, then that means that your government is fascist. Now, I think that if you label anti-fascists terrorists, it means that anti-fascists are setting fires to universities to prevent people from speaking in opposition to communism and socialism, or it means that you are attempting to murder people with bike locks and chemical weapons mixed into milkshakes. It means that you are throwing milkshakes filled with quickcrete mix in them at people in order to cause them injury, including concussive damage and chemical burns, which are generated by the slow process of the quickcrete curing within the milkshake mix. But you know, so personally, I think that when you're causing large quantities of property damage and attempting murder under the guise of your ideology, that means you're a terrorist. To say that the government labeling Antifa terrorists means that the government is fascist is the same as saying that the government labeling Al Qaeda as a terrorist organization is the same as saying that is the same as the government being pro-Satanism. And it's just not the case. It's clearly not the case. So that's the problem with the one true Scott fallacy, is that the claim that they're making here is that every person who is not an anti-fa is a fascist. You might as well say that all things that do not self-identify as eggs are necessarily bacon. Are there hats? Yes. Yes, of course there are hats.
Yes. Yes. Part of the problem here is the way memes have become how we express our ideas. It's become convenient to, hey, I can boil my entire thought process down to one picture with some clever words slapped on top of it. And while in a lot of ways, I actually think that sort of shorthand is very useful, it's also subject to all sorts of things with regard to confirmation bias. And it's also a really good way to spread misinformation very, very quickly. So something like this, I mean, everybody loves Wonder Woman. Everybody hates fascists. So this comes across your Facebook feed, your Twitter feed, your whatever, and you go, oh, yeah, I feel like, and feel is the operative word here. I feel like, man, this meme is like truth to power. And that's the problem, because that's where memes get you. They get you with feelings. They don't get you with thought. They get you with feelings. And if you already
I'm going to push back on you a little bit there. The adage is that the left can't meme. The fact is that the left memes only feelings. I've seen plenty of memes. We'll have to make it a point that next week's meme will be one that is less about feelings. But there's plenty of memes where you have a clever joke that's connected to some charts of data from some major data generator like the CIA fact book or CDC statistics on gun crime or something like that. Where it's not just the feeling. The beauty of memes is that by using image and language in conjunction in a static frame, you create something that can convey an extraordinary amount of information and also has that element of feeling. Even if all the information is good, a meme does tend to have the element of feeling, but it's not necessarily the only element there. I mean, this meme does make an argument. This meme does make, in fact, it makes a factual claim and an argument. I'm pretty sure we've just detailed that argument and factual claim is a bad argument and a false factual claim, but it does make those things. God, there's a lot of noise coming over your microphone, brother.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. It's kids running around eating breakfast.
Good.
Yeah. Because they've got to wake up too.
But another major characteristic of the meme is that it is easily shareable and rapid and easily understandable. So it has a sort of, I mean, we use the phrase viral to describe the distribution of memes, of videos, of things on the internet. They go viral. Because that's what they are by definition. They're things which are self-replicating and exponentially expansive.
So yeah, long story short, wake up. Just because you see a meme and it gets you in the feels doesn't mean it's true. Just means that it makes you feel a certain way. And the viral component is important because viruses spread. And sometimes they spread even though we don't want them to. We don't want people to get Ebola, for example. And by the way, pay attention to what's going on in Africa right now. Because, yeah, viruses are terrifying. But a lot of the opinions that you get they come from memes. All the stuff with, Trump is Hitler and the right is racist and all this other garbage. This has all been mimetic from the beginning. So maybe I'll amend my statement and agree with you and say that a lot of the left-leaning memes, yes, those are designed entirely with feeling in mind. And then a lot of the right-leaning memes rather, they're actually trying to make you think. They're trying to make you take a step back and go, no, wait a minute, I never thought about it that way before. So
Well,
people,
typically the left-leaning memes. I mean, feelings is a factor in all of them. Typically, the feelings with left-leaning memes, almost exclusively, are bad feelings. It's you're a bad person if you don't agree with me on X, Y, and Z. Uh, the president's a bad person. Every white people are all racist. Yada yada. That's what the left memes about. Right-leaning liberty-like memes tend to be a set of facts presented comedically, so that you get a good feeling, you laugh, you're amused, and your thought is not, hey, I need to spread this message around and make everybody rise up against freedom and capitalism in America, where people get to be happy if they work hard, and it's just not fair because America hates brown people. Okay, that makes people feel bad, and it, even if you don't buy the meme, you got guys like me who are, hey, I believe, because the evidence bears it out, that liberty is the best solution to generate prosperity, and that the evidence shows us that poverty globally has been reduced dramatically by the mere existence of the concept of capitalism. So, but you hit me in the face with a bunch of racism all the time. You're a racist. You're a bigot. You're a homophobe. Blah, blah, blah. And yeah, that does make me feel a certain kind of way. Mostly, it makes me feel like you're an asshole, and I'm tired of listening to your shit. Um, but when you get hit with a liberty-driven meme, you want to share it because you know what? There are people out there that I love enough that I want them to have happiness and joy in their lives. And even if it's just a tiny little measure, and I can share this simple meme that says, if you if you boil a funny bone, you get a laughing stock, and that's humorous. And I know that if I share that with my buddies, they'll chuckle for a second, like, ha, that's punny, and they'll move on. And their day will be ever so slightly better because they smiled for zero point 0.7 seconds. That's how the right means. We tell you good things about how we are doing better. The world is doing better. The world is constantly improving. Oh, there's poor people in the world. Yes, yes, there are. And guess what? The poor people are getting consistently richer everywhere. Obesity currently kills more people than starvation. There is no place on the planet where people are starving for reasons other than government corruption. That's
yes,
because capitalism.
it is what it is. And just to put a button on it, because we're coming up on our self-imposed 7 a.m. deadline.
Yeah, I think we've gone a little over. Oh, hey, 19 minutes and 20 seconds.
There we go. But just to put a button on it, if you're on the left and you share a meme and you're like, man, I want all my Republican friends to see this because God, this'll wake them up. I don't know how you can look at this meme and not realize how wrong you are. It has the opposite effect. It doesn't sway me to get called a racist for the 713th time this month. No, instead, I have more and more disdain for you. And I wonder about your ability to process things like with your brain parts. I really do.
All right. Well, this has been Memewar Monday. We'll see you tomorrow morning for Taco Tuesday. All right.